Hi guys, thanks for coming back to With His Wings. Real quick, if you haven't hit that like button or that subscribe button, please go ahead and do so. It would be greatly appreciated. This is going to be a little bit of a different video, and speaking of videos, I'm behind on my videos. Editing is no joke. Like, I need to hire somebody to professionally edit my videos because writing my blog, I'm good at writing. These videos, I just don't know. So if you haven't checked out my blog, www.withhiswings.com, kind of explains how this all started, and then I try to do a blog after each race behind on that too. Mom life. So this one is a little bit different. It's not about a specific race. It is a Q&A. I've had so many people ask me questions since Saturday, and I am by no means an expert. I'm nothing. But I can tell you my experience. I can tell you my thoughts. I do a lot of research, and I have an exceptional support team right there. So some of the questions, there are no dumb questions. You can ask me anything. I'm going to tell you. Some of them do make me laugh. So yeah, we'll get started with that. So let's see. This one, where do you go to the bathroom? Okay, so most of the races, all the races I do, are trail races, and they're typically in like state parks, stuff like that. So there are porta potties set up throughout the trail if possible, but there is a distance span between the porta potties. So basically you go wherever you have to go. Some people are like, what? Yeah, I grew up on a farm with 5 boys. Not an issue for me. But I know for some people that may tend to be a problem. Ultra running out on the trail may not be your thing if that type of thing kind of deters you. But like I said, we do try to put porta potties out there at the aid stations, but sometimes we can't get vehicles down there. So like this past race, one loop was 6 miles and something. There were porta potties at the start finish line, which was one aid station because you do come back through there, and then the other aid station I think was like 3 miles out. No, it was about 2 miles and something out was the next porta potty, and then you had to come back around. So I typically, it's never really a big issue for me. Now I can tell you, you do want to hydrate. So I hydrated a ton. I mean, we're running in the desert. The wind alone on Saturday was so fierce, so fierce. I mean, it was crazy. So I was drinking even more than I normally do, and I drink a lot. And I was okay during the race pretty much. But after the race was over, I went back out on the 5K loop to pick up flagging. I had to stop a lot. Had to stop a lot in nature. So yeah, we go wherever we can. I mean, it's just one of those things. Somebody asked, what is the amount of weekly miles appropriate to pair for a 50 miler? Okay, brother, sisters, right there. Again, I know nothing. I actually haven't done a 50 miler yet. That is a plan. That's an announcement I haven't made yet. But I do have a coach that she just kind of guides me on what I need to do, but I have done a lot of research. And what I have read and what I have researched and kind of the thought process that I agree with is to be a consistent between a 40-45 mile run week. Is my goal, unless my coach changes that, unless she's like, no, that's crazy, don't do that. But everything I've read, every source I've looked up, that's kind of the average. You want to average between 40 and 45 miles a week. If you're doing a 50 miler, you do want to focus on your long runs. So, you know, getting those long runs in once a week is really important from what I understand. But again, I haven't done a 50 miler yet. 50K is what I have done. But I'm excited to see the training plan for the 50 miler. But that's the research I have done. That's kind of my thought process on what I'm going to shoot for, unless my coach tells me otherwise. So we shall see. Let Let me see. What do you eat while running? Okay, so here's the thing. I remember growing up hearing the saying, like from parents and stuff, do as I say, not as I do. I can't stress that enough. Don't be like me. Nutrition is something I struggle with, and that was an issue that I had on Saturday too. Not having enough fuel or not having the right fuel. So everybody's different. You need to do what's right for your body. And that is something that I am working on now. I will tell you one thing that I did use on Saturday that I really liked. I really like the ingredients. It is organic ingredients. They're called honey stingers, and I will link that below. You can check them out. My coach gave me some of those on the last loop because I had what they call I bonked. I had no fuel left. I had no energy left. I had not eaten enough. So yeah, getting your fuel right is important, and you really need to train. Like when you're training, you need to be testing the different fuels and stuff to see what works for you. I don't particularly like the gels. A lot of people use gels. I used those once last year. Didn't bother me. A lot of people have GI issues. Didn't bother me or anything like that. I just, not my thing. Yeah, not a fan. But the honey stingers, I really, really liked when I used those on Saturday. Other than that, I had like 2 pieces of beef jerky and a little piece of cheese. That is all I had. Which I try to start my day out. If I work out in the mornings or run in the mornings, I do try to do that fasted. So it's not a big deal for me to go without, because I do intermediate fasting anyway. I eat 8 hours a day and then don't eat the rest of the day. But when you're burning that many calories, you definitely need to focus on fuel and nutrition, and that is something we are working on. So do as I say, not as I do. Don't be like me. How did you start to get in shape to be able to do long runs? Again, do as I say, not as I do, and you need to train. I did not train. I'm very determined, very hard-headed, and can get very focused. Training for me is hard with our life, which, I mean, it is for everybody. And one thing that my friend told me on Saturday was you have to treat your training like a job. You have to schedule it. You have to make it happen. With me, it's hard because we're self-employed. Both me and my husband are self-employed. We have our little girl who is home. We don't put her in daycare. You know, we homeschool. So that's a hard balance. And then the mom guilt. The mom guilt is real. I feel guilty enough, like on the races, because I work the races and I run the races and then I work after the races. And I have mom guilt enough that I'm gone those hours, which, y'all, we all need our thing, right? Especially if you work at home and, you know, 24/7, you need that break. You need that self-care. And we'll get a little bit more into that with this next question. But it is hard for me with the training because, one, my husband and I, we don't like me running alone. I know just about everybody does it. That's just not something that we're comfortable with. The roads where we live is not really feasible for me to run anyway. There is a trail close to my house, but again, we don't want me running alone. And my husband, God bless him, he won't do anything over a 5K. He's like, if you're going over 3 miles, I'm not going with you. So, and I mean, I can't, it's not for everybody, y'all. It's not for everybody, but he will do 3 miles with me. But past that, not so much. And you can only do so much on a treadmill. I mean, there are people that do all their training on a treadmill, and power to you, brother and sisters. I do some running on a treadmill, but when it's your long runs, I mean, long runs for us are like 20, 30 miles. On a treadmill, come on. And not that I couldn't do it, but then again, I'm right here in the house because what my gym used to be is now where my boutique is. So the treadmill is up in the main part of the house. So I have a 4-year-old, so she doesn't understand, Mommy just can't stop. I need something to drink, or, you know, Mommy, I need a hug. And I'm not going to deny her that. So the stopping and the starting and so it's really hard for me to get my training in. And that is something that I really want to focus on for my next goal, is because all the races I have done, again, do as I say, not as I do. I do the race. I've done the race. And then it is not unusual for me not to run again till the next race. And that's not okay. It's one thing to go out and say, yeah, I did a 50K, because I did. I've done 2 now. And to say that I was top female, that just like blows my mind. But I didn't have to be in such severe pain as what I was, and it didn't have to be as hard as it was had I trained. And I know that, and I know that going in. And I had no doubt that I would finish the race. I just didn't know that I would finish in time. And that was really hard for me mentally, because not feeling like I was going to fail right out the gate was really hard mental-wise for me. So I definitely stress training, one, for physical and mental well-being. It is something you really, really, really want to do. I'm not in shape like I want to be, per se, so I do try to eat as healthy as possible, and I have a very strong mind, if nothing else, so that's kind of how I get it done. But that's going to change. That's going to change. If you can get a coach, get a coach. It is very beneficial to have somebody experienced and somebody who knows the ins and outs, and to work with you and your body, because everybody's body is different. So that doesn't really answer your question. It's more along the lines of I'm telling you what not to do. Don't be me. Let's see. What got you into running? Oh, Jeannie. Okay, so if you've not read my blog, www.withhiswings.com, I will link it below. The first blog post is called How This All Began, and then it kind of goes from there, each blog post after that, a little bit more in depth, but I'll give you the quick rundown. So if you haven't followed me, how did I get into running? Okay, so back in probably 2011, my husband would run. We decided we wanted to work out, not that we had a lot of time, but we wanted to start working out. So we committed to 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day, whatever we did, 10 minutes on the treadmill, 10 minutes lifting weights. That's what we were going to do. And at that point, my husband would run, 10 minutes on the treadmill, and I'm like, I can't run. I've got bad knees. I've got arthritis. I can't run. I can't do it. And he's like, well, just try. So I remember that first 10 minutes, like I couldn't even do a mile. I mean, let's just be honest. There was not even a mile in 10 minutes. And we started doing 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes on the treadmill, 10 minutes lifting weights. And then when summer came, we started running outside. And we were actually running every day. Minimum amount we would run is 2 miles a day. And, we pretty much kept that up at least 5 days a week, basically. But I never lost weight, which losing weight was part of the goal, but being healthy was the main goal. I never lost weight. And we did that for quite some time. I mean, that was like our routine. I was up to running. I never ran less than 2 miles. I never ran more than 4. And in 2015, February 4th, 2015, I got up and I'm like, I need to do something. I want to get this weight off, and I need to make a change. Here I am running every day. That's not really doing anything except for mentally. I loved it to be able to say I can run, because I never thought I could. And I actually put on a sports bra and workout pants, and I took before pictures. I'm like, this is serious. I have actual, pictures of this, so it's got to change. And 3 days later, my brother of 41 years old died in his sleep of a heart attack. And my life stopped. So I went to South Carolina because that's where he lived. That's where my family was. I was there for about a month. you know, parents, nieces, nephews, sister-in-laws, you know, all the arrangements, all that. And for 10 years prior, my husband and I, we could never get pregnant. And my brother used to give me a hard time. He's like, y'all need to have kids. And I'm like, well, we're trying. And he's like, well, you're not doing it right. And I'm like, you're a dumbass. What do you mean we're not doing it right? Which we were okay with that. Did we want kids? Yes. Were we perfectly happy with just the two of us? Absolutely. So it's not like we ever did anything to try to fix whatever needed to be fixed. It just, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. So my brother passed away. So my whole, you know, transformation that I had planned kind of went out the window. I come back from South Carolina, and that next month, out of nowhere, I was pregnant. So pretty sure my brother had something to do with that one. So at this point, I'm high risk pregnancy. I wasn't running. And then Josie was premature. She was born premature. But the day she was born, the day at the hospital that she was born, I told them I wanted to weigh. And they were like, you just had a baby. I'm like, I don't care. I want to know my weight. I was like, because this is the day. Today's the day. I don't care that I just had a baby and all this, you know, trauma. I want to know. And so I started, as soon as we got home, I started walking or running every day, at least 2 miles a day. And I also started Weight Watchers, which was a really good plan for me. And from the day she was born to her first birthday, I lost 100.2 pounds, to the point where Weight Watchers hired me. So I was working for Weight Watchers. I was hosting my own meetings. I was running or walking every single day, sometimes both. And it was amazing. And October 2016, yes, 16, 17? I really don't remember. 17, I think. I did my first 5K. Ultra Expedition's first race. Had no idea at the time, but I did my first 5K. While on that race, you know, when a race starts, you get kind of caught up in the wave of everybody going out. So you really don't, unless you really try hard, you're probably not going to be at the pace you want to be at because you're stuck in this crowd of people, and that's kind of what happened. So once I got out there and everybody's, you know, spread it out, by myself, I just could not get my rhythm. I could not get my pace, and I started getting in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to stop, you know, and I'm in tears at this point. I'm like, it's only a 5K, which was a big deal for me back then. And so I just said out loud, I said, brother, run with me. My brother, that's what I've called him since the day I could talk, was brother. So, and at that very moment, believe if you will, don't care if you don't, I heard footsteps behind me. And I looked back and there's nobody there, but I could still hear it, and it paced me all the way back in without stopping. I did my first 5K with the help of my brother, and that was the point where this came about, was that I realized that with his wings, I can fly. So that's where that all started. And I continued to run. I didn't do any other races. This is a long story. I didn't do any other races. Life just kind of happened. I started a new business, all this stuff. I kept running at home, but I didn't sign up for any more races. And then in December 2017, we found out we were pregnant again. In January, we found out that there were complications. Lots of testing, lots of appointments. The beginning of February, they wanted me to go to the hospital and have things taken care of because they said it was not going to happen, and I refused. My doctor told me at that point that he would let me go home, but I had 10 days, that if nothing happened at home, that I was going to have to go to the hospital. And I basically said in the office that if I can't have my baby, my brother needs to come get my baby. 8 days later, on the anniversary of my brother's death, I miscarried at home. And again, my world came crashing down. I was not running. I could not get my head back into anything. I was still working for Weight Watchers, but I was slowly declining as far as the mental capacity to be able to do that. So I eventually stepped away from that. And in probably November of 2018, a friend of mine, and I don't even know if she realizes the impact that she had on me, but she knew I was struggling. Everything just changed. I mean, everything changed. Everything is still different, you know, but she told me, she's like, we need something to focus on. And she was a runner. And she's in Florida. I'm in Texas. She said, let's do the Disney Half Marathon in February. Was it February or March? March, I think, the first week of March. She's like, let's start training. You're going to come to Florida. We're going to do the Disney. And I'm like, she's like, you need to start running. Okay. So I did. I started running. The week before the Disney marathon, I had actually done, the 2 weeks before, I had did 10 miles on a track. 10 miles of circles, let me just tell you. Well, I saw this race called Border to the Badlands. And I won't get into depth of that story. Again, it's on my blog. But I told my husband, like, hey, I could go do this 10K. It'd be a good training before my half marathon in Florida. And he's like, let's go. So 8 hours, we take off. And so that story of that race is on my blog. It was amazing. It was life-changing. It's what got me into trail running. I can't even tell you. You have to go read it. Came home that Monday. I was supposed to leave on Wednesday to go do the half marathon. On Monday, I cut my foot, and there was no way I was running, so I didn't even go to Disney. And I've not done a street race. I've been on trails ever since then. So, a long story short, not so short, it's a mental thing for me. It's where I feel closer to my brother. It's where I've connected with some amazing people. If you haven't checked out Ultra Expeditions, highly recommend it. And that was another reason why this 50K last weekend was so important to me, because again, it was at Border of the Badlands 1 year later where I did my first 10K that was completely life-changing for me, where I met people that have changed my life more than they will ever know. For me to go out there and do this 50K this past weekend, to get top female, finish in time, and to see how many other people went out there and reached their goals. And if you haven't experienced a trail race, link below, join my team. We have an Ultra Cup team called With His Wings. Any distance, any speed, doesn't matter. You need to give it a shot. So anyway, sorry, long rant. Okay, last question. Jeannie says, want to train for a 50 miler with me? Yes. Hell yes. So 50 miler is my next goal. Oh, there is another question. But yes, Jeannie. Yes, if you're watching this. Yes, yes, and yes. So here's an announcement that I haven't made yet. The plan is for me, which Jeannie, let's talk, because whatever 50 miler you're doing, I'm there, sister. But I want to run the 50 miler in November, and I have a reason for doing that. Not just because it's my next level, but I want to do the 50 miler in honor of my daddy. Because 50 years ago this year, my daddy went to Vietnam. And not that running a 50-mile race even compares to anything that they dealt with over there, or the things that they deal with on a daily basis back here with all the after effects that so many of the vets have, including my daddy. But I will be running the 50 miler, 1 mile for every year that my daddy has been back from Vietnam at Port Aransas. So anybody that wants to join my team, let's do it. And then also, I guess there'll be another 50 miler because I got to talk to Jeannie and see what she's doing. So there's the big announcement. And now that I've said it, I can't back out, right? Not that I would, but 50 miles. Whoo! So it's funny when people say, "Oh, you did a 50 miler this weekend." I'm like, "No, I did a 50K." They're like, "Oh, okay, a 50K." I'm like, "Really? Can you do a 50K?" People's reactions are funny. So last question that I do get asked a lot: why? But why? Is something chasing you? Everybody has their thing. I don't shop. I don't like to shop. I don't. Oh no, that's the other one. I don't get my nails done. You know, all that stuff. It's a mental and a physical thing to be able to say that I can do it and to show my baby girl that, you know what, mommy has all these issues. I have arthritis. I have, you know, all these things, but I can log some miles. It's satisfying to me. It's my thing. It's not for everybody. That's the other question somebody did ask. Do I like to get pedicures after a long run? This girl don't get pedicures to begin with. Not that I don't like them per se. It's just that, so I have psoriasis on one of my feet. And you get tired of explaining that to people because they look at it and they're like, what is that? They always think it's something that it's not. They think they can catch it. Psoriasis is an autoimmune deficiency, disease, whatever you want to call it. You can't catch it, but it does look like a rash when it's, you know, flared up, and it can affect your toenails, you know, all these things. So I've never been a pedicure fan to begin with, and now it's like I have an extra excuse because runners' feet are not pretty, okay? Like right now, I think I have 4 black toenails. You know, and that's because they haven't fallen off yet. So being a runner is just like an extra excuse to me that I don't have to explain to people that I don't want to go get my feet done. One, because I think it's a waste of money anyway, but 2, because then I have to explain, oh, it's just psoriasis, and now that I'm a runner, them feet's jacked up. Okay, so there ain't no pedicure gonna help it. I do soak my feet at times, especially like because with psoriasis, stress will cause flare-ups and stuff like that. And let's just be honest, 32 miles on your feet, that's stress. So yeah, I will soak them at home, that type of stuff. But as far as getting pretty nails, pass on that one, guys. Okay, so if you have any other questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Again, no expert, but I'll give you my opinion, or I will just sit here and rant and ramble at you for 30 minutes. And look forward to some race videos coming up, and I'll also be updating my blog. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Thanks, guys.